There is a
And she,
reason. There's a reason that Misato is like that. Again, you'll find out why later in the series, but that plays a big part. It really ties her into Shinji a lot.
okay, and I feel like she's a bit of an alcoholic. I do have to say.
Again, once you learn her backstory and who she is, and you understand why she is the way she is. Basically, this story. Another thing a lot of people don't get is it's not about fighting giant robots. They're not even fucking
Right.
robots. I mean, I don't know if you caught that when Ritsuku was talking
Yeah.
about.
So from what I would take of it, and this is just me, speculating. Um, are the Evangelions are they angels that the humans have modified, or are
You're
they
you're
completely?
you're
I know you don't want to
close.
spoil anything for me because he, when Shinji comes in, he's like, "Oh, a giant robot," and then they're like, "What?" And then how it reacts to protect him, and then how later on when it's fighting the angel, when it gets stabbed in the face, it bleeds out, and then
Yeah.
obviously the end of the second episode, the mask or whatever, the armor
hmm
comes off, and he actually sees the eye
I'm
of the Evangelion.
very impressed. A lot of people think that the Evangelion's head fell off. I'm impressed that you caught that it was just the armor, the outer shell, because you paid attention to the eye turning
Right.
and looking at Shinji.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm glad you caught that. I'm going to have a lot of fun watching this series with you. You're going to pick up on it real quick.
There's a lot. There's so much, like I said, so much symbolism. I love animes that have so much symbolism, a deeper meaning than what the actual show is.
Oh,
I
you
also love the fact of how serious the episode starts, and then when they go back to the apartment, how it's started and funny. How comes out naked because he sees the penguin, uh, and then when she moves the beer can, how
got
it
the
shows
toothpicks. Yeah.
toothpicks. I was trying to hold in my laugh because I wanted to, hear what was going on, but that was really funny.
Yeah, old Pin Pin is a staple of the show. Love Pin Pin, but yeah, you've caught on quite a bit. But if you think that there's a lot going on right now, man, it gets
It's
so
worse.
much deeper as it goes on. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's so hard for me to talk about it but not talk about it.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, so definitely, this is one of those that you would really want to continue watching
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
I got you into Berserk, and if I had known we were going
I
to bring
love
the
Berserk.
podcast back, I would have waited and had you watch Berserk to do one of
Oh my
these.
gosh, dude. The reaction, like I wish I could have got it on camera because I watched the movie, the remake movie or
Yeah,
whatever.
the
The
Golden Age art.
reaction,
Yeah,
yeah, the Golden Age arc. It's been a few months since I've watched it, so bear with me. The reaction I had at the very end because of the change up, and I know I'm getting off subject here. I was just like, "What the fuck?"
did I not tell you when the eclipse happened that you would be sitting there like,
Yes, dude. I was
because you're
not
like,
expecting to
okay,
have that at
this is all
all.
like European fantasy all through the series, all through the movies until you get to Nosferatu Zod, and then you're like, okay, he
Yes.
seems kind of out of place. But then when the eclipse happens, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm like, am I watching a completely different anime now? Like,
Right,
what the
right.
fuck is going on? I was literally on the edge of my seat.
I won't
And then it went
say
off, and I was like, no, I don't want it to
more.
be over.
Yeah. I won't
Yes.
say that Evangelion is quite that dramatic of a turn because they pace it out a bit more. Like Berserk, you watch it and you're led to believe that the show is going to be one way the whole series until
Right.
like the last 2 or 3 episodes. Evangelion's not like that. Yeah, I mean, you start out
Right.
the first 2 episodes, you get an idea of what's going on, but then once it picks up, episode 5, 6, 7, and then when Asuka comes in and everything, it shifts a little, and
And I don't
then
feel like there was as much symbolism as in Berserk as there was in Evangelion with me just watching the first 2 episodes.
that's fair. That's fair. I mean, there is some symbolism in Berserk, but
Yeah,
it's
but not
not
like to
as
the
right.
extent of
Lot of Christianity symbolism and overtones in Evangelion. I mean, hell,
yeah,
when
I
when
did
it,
notice I loved when the angel would shoot his beam, it was a cross.
yes,
And I thought that was interesting how they did that.
That's yes. There's again a lot of stuff that happens that if you're into that kind of thing, you'll be like, oh man. I mean, they mention all kinds of stuff. They mention Adam. They mention the Lance of Longinus. They mention Lilith. Lilith wasn't in the Bible, but there's a whole thing about Lilith and Adam in the. But that's
So
I'm getting off topic, but
no, you're fine. I got another question. So
yeah.
when they're going up on that platform, the hand,
Mm-hmm.
it showed a giant hand. Is that a frozen angel? Was that an angel or something they had, or was that the hand of the Evangelion?
You talking about when Gendo is talking to Ritsuko and she's asking if they can control everything, and they're talking about Rei. Okay, that was Evangelion Unit 0. That's Rei's Evangelion.
Okay.
So something happened with it, and that's why you saw its hand had punched through the wall.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you.
When Shinji's father was standing there, like the glass was broke and all that stuff.
I'm not going to tell you what happened. You'll find that out later. But yes, Observant, that was Eva Unit 0. That was Rei's Evangelion. And yes, it had punched through the wall. There is a reason. You'll find out later. I just so much I want to tell you, but I'm not, because again, I don't want to spoil anything. I want you to watch this series. Like I said, I'll watch it with you, or you can watch it on your own. And as soon as you're done, we got to do a full retrospective, because I want to sit down with you and discuss this. Because I mean, when I was in school, I actually wrote, I think it was like a 7-page paper on Evangelion. Just about the symbolism and the overtones and the themes and everything, and it was pretty fun to do. I didn't like writing papers at the time, but I had fun writing that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's something you're interested in, so
Right.
Made it a lot easier.
Something else we can talk about sometime is I took psychology classes, and for one of my thesis, I did a comparison. And you got to think this was back in the 90s. Before anime here was big. I did a psychology paper on the difference between Disney and anime, and what the similarities and what the differences were as far as symbolism, and themes, and how somebody could watch one and get a different feeling than if they watched the other, and that sort of thing.
Right.
That's something we need to talk about on the podcast sometime. I think would be interesting for people.
Yeah, because everybody has a different, and I may get a different take with Evangelion with the symbolism than what you did.
Right.
It may affect me differently. And I think that's what's interesting as far as being on a podcast, because you do get that difference of opinion from everybody who's, watching the anime.
Well, Anno, the creator, said one time, people have asked him for years what the meaning behind Evangelion is. And Anno will always tell people it's your own interpretation. He doesn't want to, he's never come out with a guidebook to tell you everything about Evangelion. And this is one of the rare instances where the anime came first. The manga was based on the anime.
Really?
Yes. But he won't come out and give you the answers. He actually has said in interviews he wants everyone to come to their own conclusions and have their own answers.
That's very creative. I like that. That's very creative.
Anno is a very good creator. I've always been a fan of his. I mean, he did Gunbuster. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but Evangelion is considered his magnum opus. It's his greatest thing. I mean, he directed the last Godzilla movie, Shin Godzilla.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like Anno. Anno's cool.
I do have to say, I really liked how the city would go underground.
Oh, yeah, Tokyo 3.
I know. Yeah, because when they first go down there, I'm like, okay, did they build an upside down city where they're at? And then, towards the end, when she takes them out to the ledge or whatever, they come out of the ground. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So the area where Nerve HQ is that's the Geofront. That's where they've got the city lowered into the ground, and then when it raises up, it's Tokyo 3. There's other places inside the Geofront that you'll learn about later, Central Dogma and places like that. But again, I'm not going into spoiler territory.
Right.
Is there anything else? Any other impression? I mean, okay, well, was it anything like what you expected? That's a big question I wanted to ask. Anything? Like,
Not
okay,
at all.
what were you expecting? Or did you have any idea?
I didn't really have an idea, and honestly, like I said, I didn't know it was gonna jump into it like that quick. Like right off the rip, okay, here's the angel, they're fighting it. Okay, this is their last hope for humanity. This is why they brought Shinji in. I didn't know they were gonna dive into it that quick. I thought it was just gonna be like, okay, this is this character. Here's a little backstory. All right, he's going into this, then the action. So
Right.
I really didn't know. I really didn't know what to expect. I knew to go into it with an open mind because I know you said it wasn't a mecha, and I know you hate when people call it that. So I went into it without that thought process. But yeah, I really didn't. I really
Okay.
didn't know what to expect.
So would you say it would be fair in what you've seen so far, at least in the plotting, in the pacing? I mean, would you almost say that you could compare it to Tarantino's work, like Pulp Fiction? You know how? Have you ever seen Pulp Fiction?
I've seen clips.
Okay,
I've not watched it.
so you probably wouldn't be able to answer that then. With Pulp Fiction, the movie is scrambled. It's not in
Okay.
order. So like you'll
Okay.
you'll see one part of the story, and then you'll see another part of the story, and then you see another part, and you're
And
like,
then it
oh,
kind
that
of
part
brings it all together.
goes before this part, and that part goes after this part. Okay, so it's not quite that extreme, but that's kind of the way episode 1 is plotted out.
Yeah, I did get that feeling.
You get thrown, like you said, right into the middle of it. This
Yeah.
world, like Ano expects you to be living in this world. Like you already know everything that's going on. You know, Angel bad coming to kill everybody.
Right.
GTFO. Let Shinji get in the fucking robot and handle it. And the reason I call it a robot is that's a big meme. You'll see people. That's the biggest meme out of Evangelion. Shinji getting the fucking robot. Because, like I said, people bitch about Shinji all the time. He's whiny. He's a wussy. He's this. He's that. I'm
14.
like, he's 14. He's a kid from a broken home, and he's just, I mean, how would you feel if you got told you got to save mankind?
You really put that in perspective for me when you told me he was 14. But I did notice that with what you're talking about with the jumping around in episode 2, it goes through the whole episode and then it shows what happened to Shinji when he's fighting the angel. Now, I have another question.
Gotcha. Shoot.
When they say berserk,
Mm-hmm.
so did the Evangelion take over Shinji's mind?
I'm not going to answer that.
Okay.
Like I said, I will tell you one thing that they didn't explain in the first couple of episodes. So the way the Evangelions work. Did you notice when Evangelion Unit 1 was fighting the first angel and it leaped? Did you notice the umbilical cable?
Yes.
Okay, that is its power source. So the Evangelions have an internal battery that can only last, I think it's 3 minutes. It's been a while. I think it's 3 minutes. And once that 3 minutes is up, it goes dormant. It just shuts down. That's why they have the umbilical cable in the back. That's its outside power source. So, you asking about Berserk, that's an interesting question because that comes up way later in the series.
Okay.
So, something.
And I'm just speculating. That's probably kind of what happened to
Raise.
Zero.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Raise. Okay.
Okay. Another thing that they briefly mentioned that you may not have caught when Misato first